Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another Shadowverse video. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different than my regular deck and gameplay videos. And actually, if you guys follow the Shadowverse scene, Temple Storm once a month does this thing called the buddy system. And basically the buddy system, for you guys that have never seen it or haven't heard of it before, basically it's a monthly invite tournament where Temple Storm invites 8 competitive players and 8 players that haven't played Shadowverse before, or they have played Shadowverse but not really. So basically like influencers or players, streamers from other games. So like for example Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or IRL streamers and things like that. They just get a bunch of different people that are interested. They invite those people and pair them up with the competitive players. And the competitive players, they coach the new players, and the new players pilot the matches. It's a best of 3, and they pilot the matches, and basically that's how the tournament works. So in the best of 3 game, the first game, the coach could talk to their student, I guess. They could talk to their student as much as they want, and basically coach them however they want to. However, in games 2 and game 3, the coach could only talk to their player every other turn. So every odd turn, they could talk to their player, and then every even turn, their mic has to be muted. So it is very interesting. It is quite tough actually for the coach. I don't think a lot of people that view Temple Storm Buddy system, like when I read Twitch chat and stuff, I don't think they know like really how difficult it is for the teacher to teach their student on the game 2 to game 3. Game 1 is fine because you could just help navigate your student as much as you can, help them learn how the matchup plays out, and like obviously before the tournament you can help prepare your student for a lot of different stuff, teach them the deck, tell them about matchups, tell them about combinations and stuff. But in games 2 and game 3, you have to tell your student, yeah, okay, so this turn you want to do this, you want to do that. First of all, the player themselves, the coach, they have to figure out the turn themselves, and then they have to tell the student to do that turn, and then they have to talk to them about the next turn because they can't talk to them on the next turn. So they have to kind of prepare them what they want to do the next turn, what they want to be looking out for. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. If you draw this card, do that. So there's a lot of different scenarios in the next turn that you don't have the time to cover, because there's actually not enough time in your turn to cover what you want to do on this turn and then talk about your next turn. So it's actually quite difficult. That's why when you see, if you ever do watch the buddy system, when the player is on their even turns, sometimes things could go pretty crazy because they either new things have happened to the situation where they haven't been able to discuss yet, so they're not too sure what to do, and then sometimes they would just do what the coach told them to do last turn, but now that information is kind of outdated. So yeah, overall I would say the buddy system is a really cool tournament to watch. It's really interesting to see how the coaches tell their players how to play and how these players actually play out. So I actually won yesterday's buddy system. So I've competed in probably around like 5 buddy systems, and I haven't been doing well in most of them. But I finally got a breakthrough yesterday and won the whole tournament with my partner Amazonian. Every time I compete in the buddy system, I'm partnered up with Amazonian. We're both on complexity, so I think they wanted to do like a complexity themed team. So yeah, I'm finally happy that I get to win. Now I feel like I'm not just like a washed player or a terrible coach, and I can actually help my students actually win games. So we won like $2,500 US, which was pretty cool. And before I get into today's video, also I do want to let you guys know that I do offer coaching services for Shadowverse. So if you are a new player or kind of like a player that's trying to get into the competitive scene, or maybe you've competed before but haven't been getting good results, and you want to try to improve your game, or you want to prepare for tournament lineups, just climbing ladder and things like that, I do offer coaching. I'll have information to my coaching on my website, TheJordude.com, where you can go check it out and send me a message, and maybe we can set up a time if you are interested in such services. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about today basically I wanted to go over the final match for the buddy system, and kind of just kind of have my own commentary of the match, because in the actual stream you don't get to hear me too much. They might come into the voice call a couple times, but you really only get like a little snapshot of what's going on with the coaching. So I want to go over the match for the finals. I think it was us versus Andy Pyro and Frost. And yeah, basically I just want to talk about what I'm talking about in the actual match, the game, what kind of plays I'm explaining to Amazonian, and things like that. Because yeah, you don't really get to see what I'm talking about, and then you're basically just hearing the commentary. Paul Washer does very good commentary. He's of course a very great player, so he has all the right plays to talk about, especially when he has perfect information on both players' hands. But like the other casters are newer to Shadowverse, so they might not give you as good information. Show you guys the decks that we played for the buddy system. So buddy system is a one deck format, but you could have you could submit 2 decks, and the second deck could be 9 cards different from your first deck. Let me get my webcam out of the way actually. So as you can see, I did decide to play Machina Blood, and before you guys are like, oh my god, you're playing Machina Blood. Yeah, I've actually, in all the buddy systems I've played basically non-tier 1 decks, and they haven't been doing well. So this time I finally decided to, let's bring a tier 1 deck to the table, and in contrary to popular belief, Machina Blood is not a very easy deck to navigate at times, especially if you're trying to tell like new players that haven't played the game. Machina Blood can be difficult. Obviously, there's some really easy stuff that you could do with Machina Blood. Obviously, like when you have 0 cost monos, you could just kill your opponent. But like there are like really difficult turns with Machina Blood, especially if you're trying to coach someone on like on Nam turns. Especially if you're going on a Nam turn and you can't actually talk to your student at the same time, it's really hard. And then, well, if you are playing Nam, it is turn 7, so technically you can talk to your student on odd turns for buddy system. So if you do play Nam on 7, you're good. But you played a Nam, and as you guys probably know, if you've played Natural Alchemist, is that things get pretty crazy because you draw maybe like 7 to 8 cards, and they all cost 0, so you could do a lot of stuff on your turn, and there's a lot of things that decision making you want to do. There's a lot of micro decisions, so Nam turns are pretty difficult. Setting up against what your opponent might do is also pretty difficult, because a lot of times you do have to have control. You don't want to play like 0 cost machinas sometimes, for example, and yeah, especially because in this the system, 6 out of 8 classes were Bloodcraft. So my semifinals and the finals match were Machina Mirrors actually, and they were basically just one-off different deck lists. So when you're playing pretty much a perfect mirror, of course it is kind of like a coin toss, but if you do play like really well, I think you can get an advantage over your opponent if they're not playing as well. So yeah, this is my deck 1, by the way. This is Slain. I call it Slain, but it's very standard list right now that you would see. 1 copy of Slain and 1 copy of Neria. Neria, of course, has gone down in copies because she doesn't actually synergize with your deck. So there's more synergy with the deck, more Machina, more natural cards, more cards to fill up your hand for your Nam, because Nam is super important now that you have Ravening Corruption. I already talked about Machina Blood before. If you want to see my Machina Blood deck in gameplay, I'll put a card up there or something so you can click on it after you checked out the rest of this video. This video is going to get pretty long, I could tell. My voices are going. My second deck, I never actually played this deck in the tournament because I kind of built it without actually playtesting it, to be honest. And the idea was that I wanted to have a deck that ran more copies of Neria and Io, just in case I ran into a matchup where I thought it would be good. But when the day of the tournament actually came, I couldn't really find any good matchups for this. Like the closest one would have been Burn Blood, because Io is really good against Burn Blood. But with triple Nightprow Vampire, I think this kind of oofed the deck list a bit. It was just too inconsistent when I was testing it. So at the beginning of the tournament, I thought, okay, this deck is actually kind of bad. It's pretty inconsistent. I don't want to deal with bricking. So I'm just going to run with deck 1 the entire tournament because it's just a much more cleaner deck list, more consistent, and it's going to be better than what my idea of Tekken was. So I ended up scrapping this list for the tournament, even though we submitted it, and basically just played this one all day. So yeah, let's get on to the Temple Storm VOD and actually watch the final match. And I'm going to go get a drink. Oh yeah, so before we get into the games, I just want to ask for you guys' opinion. What you guys think about possibly this as a merch item? I was thinking about doing some kind of like basically class themed hoodies or like t-shirts, and basically it's going to be kind of like this. So the front would be this kind of circle design with a picture that identifies the class. So as you know, Forest Craft, they identify with a leaf. So I have a leaf here. And then for the back, it would say like Forest Craft. So I would have one for each class, basically like Forest Craft, Shadowcraft, Dragoncraft, etc., etc. And then like the color of the font is going to be with the class color. And it's basically just a really simple design that I thought of. And I'm going to want to print them on like pretty high quality hoodies and like or shirts. So if you guys would be interested in this kind of merch, let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so I have the VOD pulled up here. I'm just on the Temple Storm Twitch page where they have the VOD. They usually post the full VOD of the tournament on their YouTube channel as well. So if that does come up by the time I post this video up, I will link it. All credits to Temple Storm for their production, their VOD obviously. Hopefully they don't care about me recording over them and doing my own content. I think it should be fine. It's fair use, guys. But yeah, I'm gonna have their volume slightly on so maybe you can hear it, and just so that we don't have a lot of dead sound. Let me move my webcam as well, actually. Bam! Production. This is kind of like a live stream, honestly, when I'm recording this, and yeah, I mean, it's a vibe. This is actually going to be my first time looking at the match as well and seeing what my opponent is doing. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I want to talk a little bit about what my opponent might be doing too at times. I don't know if I'm going to ever pause the game to like actually talk about board states. But yeah, like I said, this is game 1, so I have all the information to talk. I have all the time that I want to talk to my player. Yeah, so some turns, like in game 2 and game 3, you're going to game 2 you're going to see that turns go a lot slower because you have to talk to your player about the next turn. So you just rope out every other turn. But in this game we could play faster since some of these turns are pretty obvious. I actually do want to point out that I did discuss whether we play the 1-2 here or the Robo-Goblin. I chose the 1-2 over the Robo-Goblin because in the back of the matchup, they're either playing like a bunch of 1-1s or they're playing 1-2s. Robo-Goblin can contest, but if they play Changeling Cherub on your Robo-Goblin, it feels kind of worse. So I want to use turn 2 as your time to play the Hoverboard Mercenary because you want to get through your deck, find your key cards, and turn 2 for Hoverboard Mercenary when going first is pretty good. You have a lot of time to do it. Here it was a question of do we want to trade or go face. I was in favor to go face here because we don't get punished if we don't trade unless my opponent does Cherub. And my opponent does Cherub, they're not playing Unleash the Nightmare, they're not playing Confectioner, so we're happy about that anyways. And if we trade here, he could just trade his 1-1, so we miss out on 1 damage. My opponent's incentivized to trade into my Hoverboard Mercenary to play around Yoon as well. So because it's very likely my opponent is going to trade for me, we go face for 1 damage. And 1 damage actually does matter. Gain those little damage in, especially when we have Ravening Corruption as well. Little damage could actually add up to like monolethals. Yeah, so our opponent just played Confectioner, and like I said, they're going to trade for us. So yeah, we both have Confectioner on our board. We obviously didn't have if we did have Noon in our hand, we might have, instead of playing the Confectioner, we would have probably played the Robo-Goblin or the Changeling Cherub, just so that we can guarantee a Machina on our board for the Noon turn. Because when you're going first, you can't Evo on turn 4. So Noon is really good on turn 4 because you spread out your board. You get a 4/4. You get more Machinas for your desk Machina pool account. And when your opponent on their turn 4 evolves a 5/5 over your Noon, you could just trade an assembly droid over their 5/5. Because what usually happens if you can't easily deal with their evolved 3-drop, is that you want to play your evolved 3-drop and then you're just trading 1-for-1. So your opponent actually value trades their 3-drop 2-for-1, but you're only getting a 1-for-1 for your evil. So that's why like Noon on turn 4 going first is really good in the mirror match. This turn was kind of obvious. Just kind of fill out a curve, go wide on the board. Confectioner is not really good here because it's really slow going into your opponent's turn where they have Evo. And the way I wanted to set up my board was that if my opponent goes a 3-drop plus Evo it, we could just clear the board by trading everything into the 5-drop, play Cherub to remove it, and then we could play our 3-drop, evolve it. So then we'll have a Cherub and a 5/5 on our board. So that's why I opted to play a Cherub plus the Robo Goblin over like a Confectioner here. But like that's like the main reason, but the simpler reason was that I just filled out the curve. And yeah, basically a lot of this stuff actually played out how I was telling Amazonian what will probably play out like. So setting up our turns like this, anticipating what our opponent's doing, and our opponent actually doing what we anticipated, just basically puts us in the situation we want to be for most of the game. And I think that's how we ended up like winning these games, was that we basically think, okay, what's very likely that our opponent's going to do, and what's our best answer going into that. And by doing these kind of situations, now look, our opponent has to play, since we were able to set up a board where we had a 5/5 still, and now our opponent has to use an Evo point to just evolve their 3-drop into our 3-drop. It really slows them down in tempo, especially because we are going first. And yeah, because we're going first here, we get to play our Nam first. We get to go to turn 9 where it's very easily play double mono first. So like this gets us to keep us in control here. Actually, oh okay, no, that's not double mono. So what I tell Amazonian is that on turn 6, you really want to set up your corrosion beforehand. I think this comes up in next game because we already played corrosion last turn, so it doesn't matter here. I'll mention it again next game, don't worry. But yeah, usually you want to set up your corrosion on turn 6 before your Nam, of course. This turn, like we could have played a Ravening Corruption here, but I was telling Amazonian that I want to play Core on this turn, because the reason why is because next time we're playing Nam. Nam clears the board like 95% of the time, and you won't have to use an Evo point. And then so you play Nam on your turn 7, your opponent then answers with their Nam, and then when their Nam clears yours, their Nam shoots you down, shoots your leader down, right? So you're going to be taking like maybe 6 damage, maybe 8 damage or something. So you're going to go down to 12, 13 or around that area. And then on your turn 8, you could either like clear the board, but you have the Evo point available on your turn 8 so that you could pop your core and return back to 20 health. And staying healthy, these cores are actually very important in the matchup, because if you go down in life because of the Nam, your opponent could easily follow up on their next turn with just like double mono and kill you. So yeah, that's why I wanted to play the core here, because I knew on turn 7 I'm not using the Evo point to waste the core anyways. We have enough cards in our hand to put in our Nam, in my opinion. So from turn 8 or maybe later, we have the core available to heal back up to 20, get out of mono range. By the way, tournament organizers, if you're watching this and like my casting on the match, let me know if you need a caster. Oh man. But yeah, if you guys actually enjoy this type of content, I could do more of it. Like I had game 1 and my match 1 and my match 2, so I could go over those matches if you wanted. I just find like the finals is probably the most interesting. But if you guys like it, then let me know in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so you know if I do actually post more of these videos. So yeah, this turn not too hard. I'm just saying, yeah, you want a Nam here. I don't think this is the game where we go to double fuse. Yeah, it's not the game where we double fusion. Sometimes you actually have to double fuse your Nam because you pre-fused into your Nam, so you're going to be overdrawing cards. But yeah, in this case, it was a pretty simple Nam. And we keep the mono here because we're drawing 5 cards with this already. I think it's pretty good, and mono is your we're ahead, so I want to close out the game soon before our opponent could just kind of like even out the board and it becomes a long game where Nunes come into play. I don't want to get into a board where Nunes are actually like buffing up 4 Machinas and giving them wards, right? So I want to end the game soon, so definitely want to keep the mono in our fusion and not fuse it in. So yeah, like I said, the Nam cleared the board. We don't have to use an Evo here, so we're not popping our core. And here, so some people might want to play the Robo Goblin. Amazonian also wanted to play the Robo Goblin. The reason why I don't want to play it is because our hand, especially with Slain, I want to keep our hand size up. Slain doesn't actually, Robo Goblin in this case doesn't matter because it replaces the card. But the main reason is that the Robo Goblin either is a 0-cost card that could activate your Nune, or you could play it on with your mono and get a 4/4 with Rush, right? Which could possibly trade over a ward, so or help trade onto your board. So that's why I want to keep the Robo Goblin there at 0. Actually, at this point, our Machina count is at 4. Yeah, our Machina count is at 4 at this point. So our opponent is at 11, so I'm obviously thinking with double mono in the hand, how can I kill my opponent? Because, okay, his Nam is killing our Nam, so we go up to 5. So the lethal here is actually Robo Goblin plus Nune, and then the Nune trades into his Nam. So we go up to 7. But as we can see here, our opponent actually heals up to 13. So I'm like, crap, I can't kill my opponent now because the most damage we could do is 12. It's double mono. Actually, I think at this moment, I'm thinking, okay, we only have 5 Machinas. How can we kill our opponent? Is there a way where we could get to 7? At first, I didn't think, okay, I can't actually get to 7 here. But then it comes to me like pretty quickly. That 1 damage ping though, by the way, MVP hits our opponent in the face, the 1 in 4 chance. And I'm like, oh wait, we have lethal here. And luckily this was a game 1 where I could tell Amazonian that on the play, because this is turn 8. So if this was game 2, I wouldn't have been able to tell Amazonian that, oh, we have lethal here. Yeah, and she was just telling me how she couldn't have seen this at all. I don't think this was like a super obviously, so I would say this is an intermediate level lethal. Because like obviously you don't see your monos glowing, so you're like, okay, mono's not active. I probably can't do it this turn, so people might start off the turn with like Unleash the Nightmare and then try go for a double Nune this turn. But yeah, we actually had lethal here, exactly lethal because of that 1 damage ping. Our opponent is actually super unlucky. Looking at his hand, he did draw a double mono for 0. So he was able to double mono us next turn. Maybe even kill us. Probably kill us. But the main thing was they didn't draw a core, and the core would have, if they had a core, they could have played it, healed up back up to 20. They probably would have done that, especially when the coach could tell them what to do. But yeah, they didn't draw the core there, which was super unlucky. We hit that 1 in 4 ping that killed him. So game 1 was pretty lucky at the end there just to get that win that turn. But I think the way we set up that game and played throughout the game before that turn happened, I think we played it pretty well. I don't want to say I played it perfectly. Maybe there were things we could have done differently there. But I think we anticipated what our opponent was going to do. Well, we set up well for in all the situations, and at the end of the day, it's going to be a mirror match, right? So at the end, it comes down to, oh, did we draw a mono? Did we draw a core from our Nam, right? And yeah, that's what happened basically, because they wouldn't have been able to kill us that turn when I think about it, because we had double Nune. So the game could have gone out longer because we had like Slain, we had Unleash the Nightmare, draw more gas. So we could have played the game longer, I think, but then of course our favor would have gone down more as the game went longer. Although we did draw a double Noon for one, so maybe we could have had a double Noon board, but then our opponent maybe could have Technolord. Here for the mulligan, we were wondering if we want to keep the Cherub or not. I wanted to throw it back because we're going first, so Cherub on going first is so bad because first of all, you don't even know if your Cherub's going to be active because you might not have 3 Machina cards based on your draws, and if you don't draw any other 2-drop, you're forced to play Cherub on turn 2 because skipping turn 2 is kind of like an auto loss. So you have to play your Cherub on turn 2. Usually you want to be playing Robo-Goblin, Mercenary, or even Mecha Wing Angel. So Cherub doesn't actually increase your Machina count much like Machina Angel. Robo-Goblin and Mercenary replaces the card in your hand, so you get maintain hand size for Nam. So Cherub is actually super bad to do on turn 2 if you're going first. So yeah, we full maul that hand because it's very likely that we're going to draw a better 2-drop, right? If we full maul, we have like 9, like Mecha Wing Angel with 2 copies, Mercenary, Robo-Goblin. So we have 8 cards in our deck that are good for turn 2, and we mulligan 3 cards. Plus, we're going to do our normal draw on turn 1, normal draw on turn 2. Very likely we're going to draw an more ideal play on turn 2, which we did. We drew the Hoverboard Mercenary here. Let me see. It's not too loud, right? Yeah, okay. I think you can barely hear the casters. Yeah, so obviously this turn, like the turn 1, I was just telling Amazonian because turn 2 here, I actually can't talk to my player, right? So I'm like, okay, play Mercenary like 90% of the time. If you draw Mecha Wing Angel, that's the only exception because Mecha Wing Angel going first is better in the Machina Blood Mirror, specifically for Cherub. Because if you play just a single follower, as in Robo-Goblin Mercenary, it just gets sniped down by the Cherub. So if you go Mecha Wing Angel, you can at least keep a 1-1 on your board. So that was the only situation. She didn't draw the Mecha Wing Angel anyway, so she just played the Hoverboard. I did tell her on the turn 1 that Hoverboard over Robo-Goblin because of Cherub. Because if your follower is just going to die anyways to Cherub and get no value, you might as well throw in your Mercenary so you could draw a card from your deck over the Robo-Goblin, right? Yeah, turn 3 here is super obvious. You just play Unleashed Nightmare. You always want to go Unleashed Nightmare on 3 if you can. Really good, especially when you're going first. Your board can also stick for Noon. So I was telling her, if your board sticks, yeah, obviously play Noon next turn on turn 4 because that's your best possible play. If your opponent's able to clear both of these droids, which they only can only do with Cherub, then you gotta go double 2-drops. It's not really that hard of an explanation because obviously you won't play Mecha Wing Angel this turn, but just to be sure, it's good to take your time and go over, okay, plan A, Noon, plan B, double 2-drop, Cherub and Robo-Goblin. I think I did also explain if she drew another 2-drop, which 2-drops she wants to play. But I told her to use her judgment, I think, and just whatever, try to clear the boards. So our opponent there actually had the option to go for Confectioner over the Cherub, but it was an odd turn, so the coach was able to talk, and I think the coach told him to play the Cherub to play around the Noon here. Because I think if there was no coach here, they might have gone for the Confectioner because that's a more obvious play. You get play it on curve, draw 2 cards from your deck, but you play really hard into Noon, and Noon kind of just like hurts a lot. You lose in tempo, kind of like what we saw in game 1 where actually we didn't play Noon on 4. Never mind. But yeah, here is just kind of a solo turn. Cherub onto the Cherub is fine, and then the Robo-Goblin. It is possible that you could keep the Cherub here, but if you go double Robo-Goblin, the thing is, if you go double Robo-Goblin, you only put their 3-drop Evolt into 3 health, so the Cherub doesn't clear it anyways. So I think Cherub and Robo-Goblin here is better than double Robo-Goblin. Opponent has the option between Mecha Shot Devil or Corrosion first. Generally, you always want to play the Mecha Shot Devil first because you're going to get the 1 damage. 1/1 droid, which could do 1 damage anywhere anyways, which is pretty much the same as corrosion early on. But you get to ramp up your Machina death count faster and starting earlier. So generally I like to go with the Mecha Shot Devil first. But our opponent here actually went for the corrosion first. I don't know why you would do it this way. The droid has more, you get more control over the droid rather than the 1 damage ping that you get from the draw. But he was on his solo turn, so I think he just played what he thought was better. But for his case, I think the Mecha Shot Devil would have been better there. Just because you get the 1/1 next turn, it starts ramping up your droids, like I said, and you could control where that 1 damage is going. You just have to play corrosion by turn 6 before you play near Nam, generally. This turn, we could go for the Mecha Shot Devil here. But the thing with the Mecha Shot Devil is that you can play Robo Goblin with it Oni, and you have to trade the Mecha Shot Devil into the 5/4. So you're left with 2 Robo Goblins on your board. I actually found that this turn the Metal Blade Demon was better because you could trade the Robo Goblin into his 5/4. The evolve effect from Metal Blade Demon kills off his 5/2, and then you trade into 1/3. So you're left with a 6/4 on the board, and it's only turn 5 for your opponent. A 6/4 on your board, your opponent can't deal with it without evolving a Faller and trading directly into it, so it trades over. So I get a 2/1 trade on my Evo. My opponent only gets a 1/1 trade on their Evo. And I also get to add more cards into my hand for my Metal Blade Demon. And turn 6, this is actually a pretty big turn. So turn 6, we have Mecha Shot Devil, which we could play and evolve anyways. But as you can see, we also drew into the Confectioner. It's kind of hard to see, but we drew into this Confectioner. So I'm telling Amazonian for the leftover time that we have on this turn that, okay, next turn, because we're going to go Nam on 7 basically 98% of the time. So we want to play Corrosion before the Nam, and actually Corrosion is better than the Mecha Shot Devil if you can only have one and you're going to be playing Nam in the next like turn or so, because the Nam ping damage is just so big, right? It's better than whatever 1/1s you're going to get from the Mecha Shot Devil for a while. So that's why if we don't draw into Corrosion, yeah, we can evolve Mecha Shot Devil, it's fine. But if we could draw Corrosion, we want to play that and evolve it over the Mecha Shot Devil. So that's what I'm telling Amazonia at this moment. As you can see, we do have the Confectioner, so I'm saying next turn, if you don't draw Corrosion naturally, play your Confectioner first, and then you could play your Corrosion, because there's only 3 natural cards in the deck. So you're very likely going to draw your Corrosion from the Confectioner, so you Confectioner, Corrosion, evolve it, so you set up for your Nam on turn 7. So that's what I'm telling her. I'm also telling her you need to make hand space with the Nam, because you would overdraw from the Confectioner otherwise. I don't know, I maybe didn't have to pause here. I wanted to pause just to make sure I let you guys know, because yeah, like I said, all that information I was saying to you guys right now, this was happening live, and as you can see, the timer is already going down, and as soon as that time ends, I have to mute myself. So yeah, that's why, as you can see, it could get pretty stressful, because first of all, we had to go through the turn 5, which was Metal Blade Demon over the Mecha Shot Devil. That's already kind of hard decision to make, I think, because obviously you want to set Mecha Shot Devil, right? But here the tempo is just too good to play Metal Blade Demon, so you kind of have to outweigh that. I had to think about that too. So first I had to think about it, then actually execute the play, then talk about turn 6. Because what actually happened in the semifinals is that we had this very similar situation, but she played the Mecha Shot Devil first instead of playing Confectioner to draw. She played Confectioner after to draw Corrosion. So we had to Nam on turn 7, but we weren't getting the Gatling Gun effect from Corrosion from our Nam. So that's why this game I had to make sure that I emphasized to her that we want to get Corrosion active for the Nam beforehand. And as you can see, our Metal Blade Demon worked pretty well here. Basically, our opponent's turn 5 was playing a 2/2. They get the Evolve ability active now, but their board is significantly weaker for when we're just setting up our Corrosion going into our Nam. So yeah, like yeah, I also told her to just fuse Noon and Robogoblin. You don't actually have to fuse 2 cards here. You could have just fused 1, but it doesn't really matter too much because we're going to be fusing them anyways. We're not playing those cards, so it really didn't matter on the fusion. So yeah, so she goes for the Confectioner, gets the Raving Corruption off. Is Andy Power wearing... Is it pants or is it just like a blanket on him? Anyways. Yeah, so our turn 6 went as planned. My opponent has both evil effects active already. They actually have a Slain in their hand. Slain I was afraid of in game 1. I wasn't afraid of it this game. Because our opponent doesn't have the hand size for Slain to do anything. So let's see. Our opponent this turn, they already have their evil effects active, so they don't have to set it up. I guess what he's thinking of is playing the Slain here because the 2/3 drops you don't want to play. You don't want to reduce hand size. You could go Convection this turn, but it's super weak. But I think, like, we already showed our opponent that we have Nam. So if we're going to be doing something, if we're going to play Nam, it's going to clear the Slain and do the damage anyway. So it really doesn't matter of playing the Slain or Confectioner. Slain and Confectioner are actually the same thing. Actually that's a lie because Slain here has Rush, right? So he could rush into the 5/3. Which it actually does matter, I guess, because the 5/3 sticking, dealing 5 to your face with the Nam damage is pretty much killing you. So yeah, I guess Slain is the only play here. This is an even turn though, so my opponent doesn't know really which one's the best play. Oh, this happened. Yeah, okay. I mean, the luck... no, because you have to draw a Cherub there. I don't like that, because... No, you're likely going to draw a Cherub, I guess, because you play Confectioner. Never mind. I think it was fine. That's actually a good play from him, I think. Oh yeah, this turn... so basically, what my opponent... While my opponent was doing his turn 6... while my opponent was doing their turn 6, I had, like, a piece of paper. I had, like, this... Oh, you can't see this at all. But... I'm basically just doing hand size calculations because we had previously fused cards into our Nam and we had a second Nam in our hand. So if the game was to go long here, I want to do 2 Nams. So I had to figure out how many cards do I need to fuse into the first Nam and how many cards do I need to fuse into the second Nam so that when I play the first Nam, I go exactly to 9 cards and not burn any cards. So that's why this turn I start her off by fusing the second Nam. With the third Nam was good because it meets our second Nam's Machina natural count position. Because our first Nam had to fuse Cherub in to get the natural card. So yeah. So now we got the double fusion in. Calculating double fusion with hand size is kind of weird. Sometimes it's something you have to get used to. Because when you're first trying to do it, it takes you a long time to work. But yeah, see, as we draw exactly 8 cards, go up to 9. So now we won't overdraw. It's just like, don't waste resources when you don't have to, right? So yeah. Basically, as the turn started, I just wanted to get the fusions happening as soon as possible so we could evaluate what we have in our hand and talk about what we want to do on turn 8, potentially. So yeah, like I said, previously to the first game as well, just set up the core because your opponent is going to Nam us. It's going to hit us in the face, so we want to have a core set up. And we could usually activate cores with, like, we drew a Noon, so the Noon will activate the core. So that's why I want to play the core here, even though we have 0 evil points. If we didn't have the Noon, you could actually keep the core to use as an enhanced 7. Because you have 0 cost cards anyways, you could just evolve one of your cards and heal back up if you need to. And yeah, here, like I said before, you don't really need to play these 0 cost followers because you could just buff them up with Mono or activate Noon with them. Activate even Metal Blade Demon with them. The Corrosion also at 0 because we have the Amulet. I want to hold on to as well. Especially because your opponent's Namming next turn anyways. So if you're going to clear the board, might as well just not play anything because you might as well just take the damage face because you're going to heal up with core. So there's no point playing these 0-cost followers because they're just going to die to the Nam pings. But we didn't actually have enough time to talk too much about turn 8. All I was able to say for turn 8 was like, if you draw a mono and can find lethal, yeah, do lethal on them. But if you can't find mono, you probably have to try to remove your opponent's board and pop your core if you need to with your Noon. So that was all the time I had to tell her. But like I expected my opponent to just do like this turn 7, play the Nam, but I wasn't thinking what happens if they go super wide on the board. So I didn't get to tell her. I actually literally didn't have time to tell her about Technolord, to use Technolord if my opponent goes wide. I was only able to tell her about like more broad situations where like, oh yeah, heal up if you need to, set up Noon if you need to, if you have lethal, do it. But yeah, if I had like maybe 15 more seconds, I could have had the chance to tell her more about Technolord. She does know what Technolord does, obviously, but the main thing is because Technolord got reduced to 5, so you have to manage the play point costs, and kind of hard to activate, especially with our hand being 0. So yeah, turn 8 here, what you'll see is it does get a little bit messy, but I think it kind of worked out, I guess. My opponent, like our opponent, dropped most of their hand here, really showing what they drew off their Nam. Because if you're dropping all these followers, they're like, maybe they have a mono. Actually, our opponent didn't draw any mono. Actually, they didn't have to play the 2-2. I think they could have kept the 2-2 because they have a Metal Blade Demon for 2. So I like keeping 0-cost Machina just to set up your Metal Blade Demon and refill your hand usually. So yeah, Amazonia starts off with the 3-3 to kill the 2-2. I like this. I'm like, alright, it's going good, it's going good. Play the hoverboard. The hard part is how do we actually activate the Technolord here? And she actually can, right? With the Mecha Wing Angel, you just play Mecha Wing Angel for 5, you could Technolord for 3. I think at this point our Machina count is high enough to clear this board. I think it was like at 11, I think. 11 sticks in my head. It could have been a bit lower, and if you were keeping track of this game, you'd know. But yeah, you could just Mecha Wing. What else could you do here? I did like how she used the Noon to heal up to 20. That was good. The main thing was like, okay, would she use Technolord here? And to do it, you would, I guess what you could do actually is go like you could go Robo Goblin plus Metal Blade Demon, and then Technolord. There's a lot of ways to get Technolord to use its Accelerate. She actually knew about the Accelerate effect for the Technolord, but she thought it was already reduced, so she got tricked by the Nam. She thought the 5 cost was the Accelerate cost, so she just hardcast to play the Technolord to get the Nam. No, yeah, I think we're at, yeah, we didn't get the Noon off, so I think we're at like 8 or something. Either way, the Technolord was going to be able to clear. It had enough to clear, but I mean, the Technolord did pull out the 6/6 Nam here, but obviously this is not an ideal situation because you want to clear your opponent's board, but because if they have a mono here, it's like 12, 15, 18 maybe, so they have to have double mono here actually. So, but I was afraid of double mono, of course. You have to be afraid of double mono at this point. You always need to be keeping that in mind unless your opponent fused monos previously or you actually see monos go away. They played it earlier. In that case, you could be less sus to double mono. But here, we haven't seen any monos yet, so I was very scared of just dying to double mono at this point. Something to note too, that this is also our opponent's even turn, so Andy's just playing by himself. From what I can see though here is, similar to us, he does have a Technolord available for the Accelerate, which probably clears a lot. Like he had Mecha Shot Devil a lot earlier, so he could definitely clear, I think. But there's actually not enough, there's not actually a lot of time on your turn in Shadowverse, especially when you have to navigate through difficult turns like these. I do like how he did play a Metal Blade Demon to refill his hand. evolving the Metal Blade Demon's good. He could actually clear most stuff. He traded the Noon. Like, I thought the Noon... I think he forgot about keeping the Noon on the board so that he could get buffs and ward on the board. Because as soon as I saw that Noon, I'm like, okay, they don't have double mono, but they played a Noon here, and it's going to wreck us really hard. And he actually ran out of time there to play his second Noon from his hand, which would have gave him... I'm pretty sure it gives him ward. So he ran out of time there, and we just drew into double mono. So we got a little bit lucky. Our turn could have been better by clearing the board. And I think if we had cleared the board properly, we would have been in such a scary situation. But yeah, especially if we had played Metal Blade Demon to refill our hand. But yeah, it kind of just worked out at the end there. Kind of similar to game 1. Like after NAM happens, like you do so much before to set up, play well, play your turns well. But once NAM comes down, like it really just... What did I draw off the NAM, really, right? If my NAM draws were better, I'm probably going to win. But here as well, especially because the turn after your NAM is like such an important turn, but the coach can't talk to your player, it could get pretty crazy. So yeah, that was the final match. We did win it on game 2, so it was a 2-0 in the finals. And yeah, if you guys watched the buddy system live, let me know in the comments down below. What did you guys think about it? How did we play? And yeah, if you enjoyed the content, like I said, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments if you do enjoy these kind of videos. It did get pretty long and my voice has got going, but I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.